League of Legends is the most popular PC game in the entire world. While Riot's recipe to success is a culmination of multiple things done really well, for this video I wanted to hone in on a phenomenon that is a huge part of that winning formula. I've decided to pinpoint why League of Legends players get so addicted.
I'm addicted, so I can't quit.
While thinking about this question, I was able to narrow it down to what in my opinion are the 5 main aspects of League that contribute to the answer. Those 5 being the learning curve, gameplay variation, ranked, events, and social life. The reason these 5 things stood out to me are the glaring differences of these categories with other popular game titles. Many other games either don't lean into these things as much as League or don't even offer them in the first place. To give an example, let's just look at Call of Duty. While COD is a successful franchise, you can kind of just pick up the game right away. It's a first-person shooter, so the learning curve isn't too high considering many other popular titles are within that category. With League, that's not the case. League of Legends is a MOBA, which is arguably one of the most niche categories in online gaming. For most of the player base, it's safe to say that it was the first MOBA they ever played. Immediately, you're greeted with a unique camera angle that looks at your character with a bird's eye view. As you're getting used to that, you have to play with the QWER keys for your abilities. Unlike most games where you move around using the WASD keys, you right click with your mouse. On top of just learning the unique controls, there's the actual objective of the game. It's one thing to know that you have to blow up the enemy's base, but it's another to actually learn the means to accomplish that task. There is so much information that you need to process and memorize just to be able to say you understand the fundamentals of the game, along with the questions that new players tend to ask themselves, like which champion do I pick? Which items do I build? What's a Rift Herald? What does that champion What's a Baron Nashor? How do I play jungle? Red buff? Who's Tarzan? Why do Raptors deal so much damage? Why are Raid champions How do Summoner spells work? Why is this game so hard? Oh. If I kill it with my own attacks, I get gold. Nice. This is what the learning curve really looks like in League. Once you understand how to simply move your character around, it starts from there and you just slowly learn more and more as you play. It's fun. The feeling of constantly expanding your knowledge even at such a basic level. And this satisfaction feeling of learning is essentially never ending. I mean, I've hit Challenger and there's still a countless number of things I haven't even learned yet. At a certain point, a person plays the game enough to not be learning things constantly in passing. So how do they stay interested? Well, just because they've simply learned the very bare bones of what makes a MOBA doesn't mean that there's still not a bunch of different variables that change constantly to keep your gameplay experiences fresh. The most obvious example of gameplay variation is the roster of champions. As of right now, League of Legends has 166 different characters to choose from. While many of them being straight up inaccessible for a new player simply because of their complexity, there are a lot of simple characters for the purpose of learning the fundamentals of the game. Some champions are better early game while others are better late game. As you try out different ones, you basically play a different style each time. Eventually, you might find a character that you definitively love above all the other ones and hone that character, unlocking game knowledge that you wouldn't have otherwise, which helps you see the game in a different light. Many champs have the option to utilize different kinds of damage at the same time, which brings me to the other unique aspect that keeps a player's experience fresh, which are the items. Every single match you can build 6 full items, and while I don't feel like counting the actual amount of items there are in total, it's definitely a lot. On top of whatever stats they may offer, some of them have actual physical interactions like actives, being able to alter what you're able to get away with simply because you remember to use the item, and you can mix and match every single one of them. On top of those 2 variables, there are also 9 more obvious ones. Your teammates. Every match you play with other real life people who each have varying skill at the game that can range from some having less mechanics but more knowledge and vice versa. While having teammates in your match is not new to most gamers, for League it's unique because you have to actively change the way you play depending on the performance of your teammates. You can play top lane and think you have a winning matchup, but your jungler got invaded level 1 and died, which handed the enemy top laner first blood, an extra item component, and XP, making you have to adapt and respect that lead. Another example of this constantly shifting stimulation are the objectives. Not every match will have the same dragons to slay, along with having a slightly different map to play on every time. This also naturally affects gameplay, considering when walls are removed or added, certain characters may or may not have more access to the game than otherwise. There are also over 1,500 potential different skins to use, and you can literally choose to fight a dragon while dressed like a maid. These cosmetics add to the constant differences between matches. Some champions look so different while using a skin that this fact on its own can make your experience feel fresh, even if you just faced the same character the match before. Another thing to take into account is that the gameplay itself is always stimulating. You're actively seeing your character evolve throughout the game. You constantly level up with XP, which unlocks more and more abilities, allowing you to play differently throughout the match. You have the potential to go from level 1 to level 18 every single time. That process can only take around 30 minutes on average, and considering many don't even last that long, it's very easy to just press the queue up button again. There's an infinite number of variables that I can point out based on League's structure at its core. So I'll move on to what Riot actively does on their own to contribute to the gameplay variation. Starting with the updates. Every other week, the Riot Balance team have a new patch to roll out. These changes can vary from changing the stat of a single champion's ability by 1 to entirely reworking the map. I actually go over this in my recent video, so you should watch that too. Not only can these constant updates literally change the environment you're playing in, this is just another example of making the player's experience feel different. Apart from Riot's game balancing, they also do a great job at creating alternative ways to play. Look at the game modes. You don't have to play on the Summoner's Rift map all the time because there's another permanent map, the Howling Abyss. The players are literally forced into a fresh environment on that map. This is basically the game mode to play if you want to feel stimulated. They even added a teleporter to bring you into the action faster than walking there. This ever so slight change highlights Riot's attentiveness to player stimulation and gameplay variation. Though speaking of different game modes, the other one I want to mention fits into the category of the events that are constantly hosted. My second favorite game mode of all time is 2v2 Arena. This addition to League, while being very new, is easily one of Riot's best decisions. Unanimously extremely fun in the eyes of the player base, and you're in constant combat, with round intermissions only lasting around 20 seconds on average. It's basically Battle Right, but in the League universe, meaning it's a whole different way to have fun while playing League of Legends. It counts as an event in my eyes because so far it's come out 2 different times, with big changes to the second time to keep the experience even more fresh. The holidays are a big time for events too. Conveniently, we're in the middle of one right now, being the Winter Blessed event. A bunch of new skins, new missions, and the Essence Emporium returned with cool deals. Yes, I bought the Blue Essence banner. It matches my profile's aesthetic. The largest events by a landslide that Riot revisits every year are esports. In 2023, people watched over 146 million hours of the World Championships, and this event grows in viewership by 25% every year consistently. Personally, watching people play League makes me log in to play too. Do I ever regret that decision? No. However, like I said earlier, I have hit Challenger in Season 13, and saying that the ranked mode can manifest a League of Legends addiction is an understatement. I mean, I literally hit Challenger from Plat 1 in 6 days because I was addicted. I was literally dreaming about the rank up animation from Grandmaster to Challenger. No, seriously. I even convinced myself that I had a significantly higher win rate if I starved myself. Talk about destructive habits. To be honest, it was true, but anyways, what do you think is the worst feeling when playing League? Your answer is probably losing ranked matches. However, not so coincidentally, the best feeling has to be winning ranked matches. This is because the environment is extremely passionate. People are competitive by nature, and while learning how to play and enjoy the game is one thing, ranked brings that satisfaction to a whole other level. Because of the limitless skill ceiling that League as a MOBA has, there's basically limitless reasons to play ranked. 100% of the player base will always have a way to improve their skill, especially if a huge chunk of that improvement process has something to do with your mental state. A trait all humans share is an immediate sense of satisfaction once you actively work towards improving at something and actually seeing the fruits of your labor in one way or another. For gym bros, it's your physical body, and in League, it's that rank up animation. Limitless potential growth equals limitless potential satisfaction. One of the biggest reasons reasons players are driven to rank up is the sense of competition with their friends, and this is one of the ways someone's social life contributes to their addiction to League of Legends. I can't count the number of people I've met just by playing ranked and adding them because they played well. When you meet people online through League and become friends, the game often becomes that bridging vessel in which your interaction with those friends revolves around. When League is the basis of those relationships, there's very little incentive to disassociate the game from these people. No matter how upset you get while playing this game, it's too tempting to decline a request from your friend group to hop in an ARAM or a 5-man on the Rift. This addiction adjacent behavior doesn't only stem from online relationships though. Like I said earlier in the video, League is the largest PC game in the world, so the chances of you knowing someone in real life who plays it is pretty high. And because the game is free to play, there's little reason to not try it out for a friend who wants to introduce it to you. I mean, my friend showed me League when we were 13 and I've been playing it ever since, which was almost 11 years ago. That's just my experience, but imagine how many of the other 180 million monthly players were shown the game by their friend or their group. Also, some of my real life friends started playing League because they liked the Arcane series, along with my suggestion to try out the game that inspired it. So basically, I actively made the choice to ruin my friends' lives. These 5 different points I've discussed can cycle endlessly between each other, trapping existing players within an addictive loop of League and attracting new players into that same loop. The addictive cycle that Riot Games perfected is one of the big reasons why League is the largest PC game. Thank you so much for watching my video. They take really long to make, so I'd appreciate if you sauced me a like and subscribed. I love making video essays, however, I made a new series based on creating off-meta tech, and I'm really curious to your reactions on it. If you have nothing else to do, it'd be cool if you checked it out. I'll catch you all next time. See ya!